We read in the Constitution for the United States of America that we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, we do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. In an act of treason, the United States Supreme Court in 1938, under the Rules Enabling Act, abrogated the law of the land and replaced it with civil law. We read in Article 6 of the Constitution that this Constitution and the laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuant thereof, and all treaties made in which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of the state to the contrary notwithstanding. The United States Supreme Court in 1938 committed an act of treason. The unified United States common law grand jury is comprised of 50 grand juries, each unified amongst the counties within their respective states. All 50 states have unified nationally as an assembly of thousands of people in the name of we the people to suppress through our courts of justice subverts acting under the color of law within our government. National Liberty Alliance supports and sponsored the organizing of the unified United States common law grand jury. On October 10, 2024, the unified United States common law grand jury served a presentment upon the United States Supreme Court. The American Bar Association doorkeepers intercepted our service and returned our presentment. Weeks later, we served the presentment again with a cover letter making clear that this was a presentment from we the people, a grand jury. But the seditious ABA doorkeepers intercepted our service and returned our presentment a second time. On January 15, 2025, the Unified United States Common Law Grand Jury filed with the United States Supreme Court an unprecedented indictment against the federal judiciary for treason, for covertly changing our natural law courts of justice into chancery courts, operating under Roman civil law. Whereas again, the American Bar Association doorkeepers intercepted our service and returned our indictment. For the aforesaid reasons, we will file our papers in the lower federal courts and pay their extortion fee as we work our way up to the United States Supreme Court. Because the lower courts are unable to address our case, we estimate it will take about 6 months to get to the United States Supreme Court's door. Between now and then, we need to draw critical mass, and that is up to the people that see this video to make it go viral and start bringing this issue into the social medias. Because we have been sending presentments and the book Government by Consent to President Trump and his administration and a few congressmen and senators, and we have noticed lately that he has been escalating the issue of judicial corruption in the media, we believe this case is ripe. And with critical mass and President Trump and his administration pressure and exposure of the United States Supreme Court's subversion will force the courts to do the just things and return our courts back to we the people. We have hundreds of cases that we will be attaching as evidence of subversion and conspiracy against the federal judiciary and the U.S. Supreme Court, crimes of denying we the people's due process. Anyone who has a case in the federal court, state court, family court, probate court, county court, city court, town court, or village court, and would like to attach it with our presentment, go to nationallibertyalliance.org and click on our affidavit for U.S. Supreme Court to join our U.S. Supreme Court case concerning denial of due process. More details soon. We will also teach all involved how to resurrect your case to be heard in a court of justice. More info and links in the description below. The Constitution defines the law of the land as natural law and equity under Article 3, Section 2, ordained by we the people, as the supreme law of the land, found under Article 6. Equity being legislative law to govern government agencies and their agents and interstate commercial activities, and not we the people. Whereas the limitation of their authority is clearly defined under Article 1, Sections 8 and Section 9. Whereas the rules of nature and nature's God, which was abrogated by the U.S. Supreme Court by rules, were to govern both law and equity. Natural law is simply common sense, governed by the doctrine of the King of our natural law courts, namely Jesus Christ, found in the Gospels. Whereas the 12 jurors, also known as the tribunal, being the king's bench, is to administer their decision by his will, not the American Bar Association judges. Whereas the judges in every state, including the United States Supreme Court, are bound by the law of the land and are to guarantee natural law republic under Article 6. The United States Supreme Court, being subject to our natural law republic, must obey the sovereign, also known as we the people, or be impeached for bad behavior under Article 3, Section 1. And if we cannot achieve a Republican Congress and a Senate that will exercise the law and the will of the people via the upcoming midterm elections, then we will indict them for treason. The Bible and Prayer in Schools. In 1963, the Bible and Prayer was outlawed in the classroom, which marked the beginning of moral decay in America. In 1789, Congress and President George Washington passed and signed into law of the United States Annotated Code, Article 3, which states, "Religion, morality, and knowledge being necessary to good government and the happiness of mankind, schools and the means of education shall forever be encouraged." George Washington said, "It is the duty of all nations to acknowledge the providence of Almighty God, to obey His will, to be grateful for His benefits, and humbly to implore His protection and favor." Benjamin Rush, signer of the Declaration of Independence, said, "The great enemy of the salvation of man, in my opinion, never invented a more effective means of limiting Christianity from the world than by persuading mankind that it was improper to read the Bible at schools." Psalm 33, verse 12. "Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, and the people whom he hath chosen for his own inheritance." 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14. "If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, and will forgive their sin, and will heal their land." The following Bible verse is on the Liberty Bell, Leviticus 25, verse 10. "Proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof." 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 17. "Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty." Treason. Every judge who denies the people due process in a court of law is guilty of treason. Judges have no more right to decline the exercise of jurisdiction which is given than to usurp that which is not given. The one or the other would be treason to the Constitution. Cohen versus Virginia. And seditious conspiracy under 18 U.S.C. subsection 2384. The courts have conspired to overthrow the supreme law of the land by forcing countless millions of people by judicial machinery to prevent the execution of due process. The American Bar Association is guilty of advocating the overthrow of government under 18 U.S.C. subsection 2385, which states, whoever knowingly and willfully advocates, teaches, prints, publishes, edits, issues, circulates, sells, distributes, and publicly displays printed matter advocating, advising, or teaching the duty, necessity, desirability, or propriety of overthrowing or destroying the law of the land, also known as the Constitution, and thereby the destruction of 50 state governments and the United States government, is guilty of advocating the overthrow of our government, because they teach that the law of the land has been abrogated and replaced by Roman civil law. According to the Federal Judicial Center in 1938, pursuant to its alleged authority under the Rules Enabling Act of 1934, the Supreme Court enacted uniform rules and procedure for the federal courts. Among the changes wrought by the rules were the elimination of the federal court's separate jurisdiction over suits in equity. Under the new rules, suits in equity and suits in common law were grouped together under the term civil law, thereby subjecting common law to the will of the states. The American Bar Association controlled United States Supreme Court, and the American Bar Association controlled federal judiciary. Via Rule 2 states and upholds that there is one form of action, the civil action, thereby committing treason and are guilty of seditious conspiracy by advocating and teaching the overthrow of our government. They are all guilty of insurrection against the law of the land under 18 U.S.C. subsection 2383. When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is the people's unalienable right, it is our duty to throw off such judges and to provide new judges for our future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these states, and such is now the necessity which constrains us to alter our subverted courts and return back under the law of the land. The history of this present federal judiciary is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having indirect object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid sovereign people. The American Bar Association controlled U.S. Supreme Court via the 1934 rules have closed our courts of justice, also known as natural law courts. They have changed our courts of justice to chancery courts. They have abrogated the law of the land, claiming we are under Roman law, also known as Babylonian law, under the name of civil law via Rule 2. They abolished the rules of common law, thereby removing common sense, coupled with the doctrine of Jesus Christ. They abrogated the sovereign's writs of coram nobis. They've abrogated the sovereign's writs of coram vobis. They've abrogated the sovereign's writs of auditor querela. They ignored our writs of habeas corpus. They ignore our writs of quo warrantos. They ignore our petitions for redress of grievances. They abrogated the fully informed, free and independent grand jury to be oriented by the people. They abrogated the fully informed, free and independent pedigree to be orientated by the people. They abrogated Amendment 1 by making law from the bench forbidding prayer in school. They abrogated Amendment 1 by making law from the bench forbidding the Bible in school. They abrogated Article 5, destroying the balance of power that denied the equal suffrage in the Senate via the repugnant 17th Amendment, a repugnant law that they had the power to nullify. They abrogated Article 1, Section 9, Clause 4 that denied direct tax via the repugnant 16th Amendment, a repugnant law they had the power to nullify. They infringed upon our Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. They abrogated the original 13th Amendment that prevented bar judges and bar lawyers from holding positions of honor in our courts. They provided for debtors' prisons via the federal tax courts controlled by the foreign banksters for the unlawful tax schemes under the pretense of a fictional interpretation of Article I courts that does not exist. They changed common law to mean judicial comedy. They have refused obedience to the Constitution. They have replaced our unalienable rights gifted by our Creator with privileges via the civil law. They have turned over control of our courts and the writing of repugnant rules as law to a foreign entity known as the bar. They maintain status quo rulings in opposition to the law. They sent hither swarms of officers to harass the people and eat out our substance in traffic courts, village courts, town courts, county courts, and state courts. They transport us to jurisdictions unknown to be tried for pretended offenses. They have concealed and seized control of the people's right of government by consent. They have combined with others to subject us to jurisdictions foreign to our Constitution. They have given assent to acts of pretended legislation. They assault innocent people with trumped-up charges and send SWAT teams to destroy people and put their families in jeopardy. They have fundamentally altered the forms of our government. They have declared themselves invested with power to legislate via rules. They have relinquished state government powers while waging war against patriotic people. They deny our Fourth Amendment rights. They deny our Fifth Amendment rights. They deny our Sixth Amendment rights. They deny our Seventh Amendment rights. They deny our Eighth Amendment rights. They deny our 10th Amendment rights. They deny God's blessings of liberty, whose justice will not sleep forever. They have shredded our Constitution. In conclusion, only the people can save our republic. The question is, will you? You have a republic if you can keep it. Benjamin Franklin. If a people expect to be ignorant and free, they expect what never was and never will be. Thomas Jefferson. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Edmund Burke. The Constitution cannot defend itself. That's your duty. Make this video go viral. NationalLibertyAlliance.org. See the description below to find out how you can support us and get involved. Here is a list of what you can do to help save our republic. You'll also find this information in the description below this video. You can make this video go viral. Share it everywhere. You can go to NationalLibertyAlliance.org to become a member and come to our Monday night open forums to learn more. You can support NLA's effort to save our republic by donating $5 a month or more. That's just giving up a cup of coffee and a donut once a month. You can take our free constitutional courses. If you were abused in village court, town courts, county court, a state court, or a federal court, you can join your case to the Grand Jury Presentment. Find details on NLA's front page. You can take our 90-hour course called Court Access in the Common Law course. You can find that at nationallibertyalliance.org/court-access-common-law-course. You can buy the book Government by Consent. You can go to nationallibertyalliance.org/books-John-Darash. You can join or start a committee of safety in your county to take back our political process. NationalLibertyAlliance.org. Again, you can find all this information above in the description below this video.